From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up. What's up, everybody? I'm Aslan. He's Corey. You know that. Welcome on into this live edition of Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. I was supposed to do that every single time we did a live show, mentioning that we're sponsored by DeLuna Coffee, and I just remembered it for the first time in like 3 months, so let's do it again. It is so good. Go check out DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Check out that website. Look at those gentlemen. Look at our guys. Look at Ed and Brett. Looking good, gentlemen.
Looking dude.
All you got to do is scroll down. Then you see the Warchant bundle. I mean, you don't have to get the Warchant bundle, but I can't think of a good reason why you should not get the Warchant bundle. You get that tumbler. Oh, wow. It zooms in. You get some of these sea salt caramels. You get yourself some White Sands coffee, all for only $40. That's like 20% off. It's better than the Warchant 15 promo because they want to get you folks involved. So go check out DeLunaCoffee.com. Explore their world of coffee. It's great. It really is. It's the best cup of joe I have had while doing rotations on this big blue ball we call planet Earth. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code's Warchant30. But subscribe to the YouTube page. So many of you out there commenting, getting involved, but you're not subscribed. It's free, Corey, right?
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, and you get all the. I guess you get updates. I haven't subscribed to many things in my life on YouTube, but I assume it pops up on your feed a lot more if you're subscribed to something. Is how that works. So do it. We got a lot of content.
Yeah, there's a little bell. You can hit that bell and set your notifications for however frequently or infrequently you want to be notified on things. So, and also hit that thumbs up, everybody. Obviously,
and also the reason I'm so far away. I don't know if you can tell. I'm sure you can. My nose is all busted up. Got into a bar fight a couple nights ago. I told Aslan about it. Sent 2 guys to the hospital. It was crazy. It was a crazy scene. No, I got a little bit of skin cancer removed from my nose, and they had to cut in there and stitch it all up. So I'm trying to save you guys. I want people to watch it, so I'm trying to be as far back from the camera as possible, and I don't want you to see my grotesque face. So I'm backed up. I'm backed up talking like this.
Drop it. You look fantastic.
Sure I do.
We're going to get some questions from people over on the warchant.com tribal council. We're going to try to catch up on some of that Renegade Express we didn't get to because we probably won't even have enough time if we do it all tomorrow, Corey, when we do our Friday show. This is the Wednesday live show, but it's our Thursday podcast. Speaking of Thursday live show, 5 p.m., Michael Langston recruiting chat. If you like calling in, you can do that. You can call in. He'll take your questions talking about Cruton.
So far, so good on that front, though, huh? It looks like everybody's saying the right things on that front.
They are. AJ Duffy's like, hey man, I trust in these guys. I respect what they've accomplished. I'm still here. I ain't going anywhere. So, very good. I mean, it's surprising to hear for sure, but a pleasant surprise. I welcome such surprises in my life. I like that kind of stuff. So, they did practice today. It was our last time to be able to watch them practice. I got there super late. Had some contractors come over. We got one thing finally done at this house. Did not think it was particularly the best sort of 3-5 periods of football that I watched, but again, it was against scout team stuff. So the real important stuff's going on beforehand when they're going one-on-ones and things like that. But the offensive line, Corey, remains a work in progress. They're shuffling in new pieces, and quarterback, kind of what it's been the last 2 weeks. We'll see if it pays off at all when they do play Louisville. I think 2.5-point underdog now at home, 3:30 against them. So would anything catch your ear? Did you write anything off today's interviews, or were we letting you recuperate from beating cancer?
I wrote that's right. I beat the tar out of cancer. Norm Macdonald had a good line about that, by the way. He's like, I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, but because he passed away from cancer, and he was talking about how people always said they lost their battle to cancer. And he's like, we don't really lose a battle to cancer because when your body dies, the cancer dies too. So it's really a draw. The cancer dies and you die at the same time. So I did beat cancer, but millions and millions upon people do this every week. No, and I did write a little bit about the O-line, just the shuffling they're doing and how Atkins, basically said this is the most shuffling he's had to do this early in the season. You had Darius Washington's played both tackle spots, DLT's played guard tackle, Brady Scott's been in there, Babion Johnson's played center, Darius Washington had to play center for a couple of snaps. You don't know from really snap to snap, week to week, what that 5 is going to be. So that's what I wrote about. It's just the reshuffling of the deck at offensive line, and that hopefully the guys they need to get back will be back. Maurice Smith and Robert Scott.
Yeah. I'm not in public relations for Florida State University. I'm not on the payroll. I don't try to think of, I probably should maybe sit around and think of more positive ways to talk about this team right now. But when you haven't won any football games, I don't like to dabble in that kind of stuff. But I was thinking about, and I mean, it's just so hard to obviously put that Jacksonville State loss out of your head. But for a guy who thought this team was going to be 6-6 this season, most likely, they're really only one win off that pace. And if you can beat Louisville, it really does change some of how you're feeling right now. I mean, I don't know if we can really, overestimate how good it would feel just to get a win, just to be able to talk about something positive, Corey. But they're one game off. Louisville's not amazing by any stretch.
Right.
They pose problems, obviously, a very aggressive defense. Will they bring pressure? Can the offensive line hold up to the pressure? Can Milton or Travis throw the ball against pressure? And then Malik Cunningham running around doing some crazy things. Florida State really hasn't seen anybody with that kind of skill set. But you beat Louisville, and you're kind of still on pace to a certain degree. I mean, you should have that win over Jacksonville State, obviously, but, maybe a bowl still on the table, but you definitely would have to beat Louisville. If you lose to Louisville, then all the negativity that everybody wants to avoid or likes to talk about when they pose questions, we probably won't be able to ignore it any longer.
Maybe it's just me. I think all that negativity, we got swamped with it at Jacksonville State. I think now it's more of just a realization. Like, I can't imagine people are angrier. If they lose to Louisville, people will be angrier that Monday than they were this past Monday. Like, at some point you get used to it, which is not a good sign. It's not what you want to do, but you get used to it and you just try to look for things that are improving. It's sad. It's sad that we're in this place. All of us are in this place trying to figure this out, but see if Norvell can figure it out. But at this point, man, what's another loss? You already lost to Jacksonville State. On the flip side, though, a win is a big deal. You see, especially if they play well. Like, I don't know that they can't win a game unless they play well. So that was a dumb thing to say. They're not talented enough to play a C- game and beat anybody left on their schedule. But if they play well, man, okay, then maybe then you go into Syracuse seeing, okay, can they stack 2 good weeks in a row? But right now, man, this season is this season. You're almost certainly not going to have a winning record. You might not. You probably won't go to a bowl unless things turn around. But you can look for some positives as you move forward.
There's a Godfather right there, Corey, sending you some well wishes.
Guys, this is a very special occasion. The Godfather himself has been kind enough to grace us with his presence. The Godfather. This is his damn house. He lives there. He sleeps 20 feet away.
I
appreciate it, buddy.
I just want to read it to the people that can't see. Corey, I had something done to my nose several years ago. It will be better real soon. So there you go.
Let's hope, Ed, from your mouth to that plastic surgeon's ears. Let's hope he did a bang up job, and you won't be able to even see this thing 2 months from now.
All right, let's bounce over to the warchant.com tribal council. This comes from SQuinn67. Wake up! We just went through a horrible 2 weekends. Hard to imagine having a season worse than last year, but we may be on the verge of that happening. We should all be pitching in NIL money to save the recruiting class. No, man, they're coming still. They said so. No matter what happens.
Still, it would help.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt. Would not hurt. Oh, no matter what happens, I'm forever a Nole. Started coming to games as a kid in the late 70s. One of many in my family to graduate from Florida State University, and will always cheer on the Noles. Absolutely. Absolutely. My question for the week: can we stop calling the 2000s the lost decade? We were so spoiled that winning 7 to 9 games in a season seemed like the end of the world. Look where we are now. We're striving to get up to that level.
Well,
FSU all the damn time. That's Quinn 67 class of 93.
I would say the issue with that decade is, why did it happen? Like, you were rolling, you had been great for 15 years, and then you made a couple of really questionable coaching decisions, and it felt like you had a chance to keep that thing rolling for the next decade. And a couple of questionable, and you guys know what I'm talking about, some questionable decisions, personnel, but mainly coaching, made you a mediocre ACC team when you were on top of the world. But then again, what has this last half decade been? If that was a lost decade, this is I don't know. I don't even know how you would describe what we've been going through the last 5 years. Because yes, everybody watching this would long for 8-5, 9-4, those kind of seasons again in the short term anyway.
I just wonder what we'd go back and then call that. I mean, we could call this a lost decade, but we need to rebrand 2001 to 2009. I can't think of anything clever. Maybe that'll be our charge for the rest of the week. Try to figure out something. I like it though. We should. Because we won the ACC. We went to New Year's Six Bowl after 2002, after 2003, after 2005.
Yeah.
But when you're losing,
but you could see it. You could see it slowly dissipating until where you got 30-0 to Wake Forest in 2006. So it was slower than this. I feel like you didn't fall off a cliff. You were just hanging on like our man Sly in that movie, or Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You're hanging on to the cliff. Back then, you completely fell off it here lately.
Yeah. Kara Palalis. Sorry, I think I had it right the first time last show. I screwed it up, Carol. I apologize. Thanks for being here. What are your thoughts about Chubba Purdy as our quarterback? He is our future for the season. Woo. And he's a perfect blend of McKenzie and Jordan. Time for some Purdy points on the Seminoles scoreboard. It's a risk.
We'll see. We'll see. He's a freshman. He hasn't practiced much in his career in college. He has been here lately, but I'm saying he didn't get to practice much at all his first year and then missed all of spring. So it feels like he's still catching up a little. But there is some talent there. As Aslan's pointed out a lot, there are some things you see in practice where it doesn't seem like he triggers real quick. He doesn't get the ball out of his hands real quick, which makes you wonder how well he sees things. And to play this position, man, you just got to see things. You've got to. And you don't know how well he sees it. But all the other measurables, he runs well. For all we know, he runs better than Jordan at this point. And he throws a nice deep ball. He has a nice arm. There's some things you like about it. I think he's competitive. I think he's a tough kid. It's just a matter of if they think he's ready to run that offense. And the counter to that will be, well, how bad could they have been at Wake if he was playing the whole game? What would they have scored? 2 less touchdowns? I mean, you're not doing great anyway. So I get the idea, like, why not give him a try if you're just going to lose these games anyway and not look all that good doing it. But, I also think that they still like the guys they have right now. And they think those 2 guys give them a better chance to win. And they're probably right at this point.
Yeah.
Agree, Aslan?
Yeah. I mean, with Chubba, this is how I would see it happening. I mean, the good of it, if it were to happen,
I'm going to go hardwire myself, Aslan. I'll be right back.
Yeah. All right. I'll solo up then.
Sorry. Don't look at my face.
Oh, it's okay. I'm solo up. There we go. I was just saying, Corey, my guy, wasn't even on television. He cares more about his appearance than I do most of the time. Look how horrible my beard is. If Chubba plays, like it's going to go like this. He'll probably scramble and throw an incomplete on the first pass. Second down, he'll probably hand the ball off. Third down, he'll either get sacked or he'll just throw it away to nobody. And then maybe on the second drive, he'll run on first down. He'll scramble away and try to make something happen. And then it's like, okay, we got something going. He's a guy, I don't want to say gamer, but there hasn't been anything in practice to where you're like, okay, he has a consistent production to his game. There's a consistency, and what he's seeing, what he's doing, why he's doing what he's doing. There's none of that. It's terribly up and down. Not criticizing the kid. He's young. If anybody was on year 0 last year, it was Chubba Purdy. So not downgrading his ability at all, to take a word from Michael Langston's sort of lexicon. But he's the kind of guy, he'd have to get punched in the mouth in the game. He's going to go out there and probably look horrible for a drive or two, but then maybe someone will start clicking. I think much of the way he looked against NC State, I think if he were to play against Louisville, it'd be much against what we saw last year against NC State. He would probably struggle for most of the first half. And then the second half, especially if the other team is kind of up comfortably and they're not going to be as aggressive, yeah, man, play off, and he'll scramble for 7 yards, play off, he'll scramble for 8 yards, play off, and then he'll throw a pass and he'll get a touchdown. But again, I guess it's something worth looking into, but I just don't think again, I talked about sustainability with Jordan Travis. I don't think that's necessarily something you can hang your hat on, but whatever.
I also think it's something that might play itself out one way or the other, because again, you're not talking about the healthiest quarterbacks ahead of them. So there's a very good chance that Chubba gets some run this season even if it's not just for a spark, it's because out of necessity. So he'll get his, I do believe that Chubba will get his chance to get some meaningful reps this season.
Look at Ed. Ed, what are you doing, man? Too generous. Come on. Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much. Atop this pillar with your name autographed is your delightful tumbler and even better coffee. So everybody check them out. Again, DeLunaCoffee.com. It's a booster, a loyal fan, and a big help for us here on the show.
Well, the more you help, the more you buy of his coffee, and it's wonderful coffee. Aslan can attest. Stephanie can attest. It's great stuff. The more he can spend on getting better players to Florida State. Am I right, Aslan? Isn't that what we want? The big money guys, like the Eds of the world, the guys that have, look, Travis Hunter might drink coffee. AJ Duffy might drink coffee, and you got to figure out a way to just keep these guys on board. So the more money that's given to Ed, the more product you buy of his, the more he can help the product on the field. Just throwing that out there, guys. Just throwing that out there.
Ed feels a win coming on this weekend, everybody. He says he would not mind seeing Chubba Purdy if Jordan Travis cannot go. Did he practice a lot this week? Yeah, Chubba was there, man. I mean, the 2 days that we were there, Chubba's there, going, getting some looks at the twos. Obviously participating in one-on-ones. They rotate all the quarterbacks in there. So
I think he was asking if Jordan Travis practiced a lot this week.
Oh, can't answer that. I don't want to give away the competitive advantage.
There you go, Ed. I'm taking care of you, buddy.
Don't want to give away the competitive advantage.
Right.
Somebody
Ed, text Aslan. He can tell you. Just can't put it out there for public consumption.
Yeah. Again, competitive advantage. Would not want to just, willy-nilly throw it away out there for everybody to see. Let's see what else we got here. Let's bounce back over. I think I got a question loaded up. Yeah, there we go. Warchant.com, Tribal Council.
That's a long one.
Well, it just looks long. I read fast.
Okay.
Old Dad's a Nole. Wake up. Is there anything in FSU football as annoying, for lack of a better description, than our read option? There's nothing read about it. Hasn't been going back past the Francois. Painfully obvious that whether it's kept or handed off, it's predetermined, and everyone in the stadium sees it. Even that slow Notre Dame quarterback ran it perfectly, and I can outrun him. Surely you guys see it too, don't you? Also, I'd about bet that no one who started the Miami game, Willie Taggart's last, starts on this squad. And outside of Odell, I'm not sure there's any coaches who coached that game. With that said, how is it that FSU looks the same as it did then? Ooh. You hear get new coaches and get new players, blah, 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 and you've done a complete overhaul. So how is it even possible that you did both and still look identical? Seriously, that's my question. Disgusted is being kind. Old Dad.
I get it. There's reason to be frustrated. It doesn't make a ton of sense that you're now on, since the start of 2017, you're on three different coaches who have put out horrible products. That 17 team was one of the most underachieving teams in recent memory. Remember, they were 3-6 when he bounced, and they got beat 35-3 by Boston College. So you had that season, followed by the bowl streak ending, followed by Willie getting fired, followed by 3-6, and then followed by this. And it's three different coaches that have gone through it. Coaches that have won elsewhere. Jimbo won here. So you wonder, you really do. I mean, it's a legitimate question. It's too. I think there's some of it is nuance.
What does that mean? It's Jimbo won here. Is he a bum? Are you trying to say that even Jimbo Fisher won it?
No, I'm saying he proved he could win here clearly, and he's won at A&M. So what was it about that 17 team that just fell off the side of the mountain? And then Willie Taggart's won other places. Norvell's won other places. So is Florida State just snake bitten? You know what I mean? I get the frustration. It doesn't make any sense that you have brand new players, brand new coaches, and you don't look any better. You look like you're probably worse than you were 2 years ago. I don't even think there's probably about it at this point. It's a long season. We'll see if they turn it around. But it's hard to explain. And I know you're asking us to explain it. I don't know. The roster isn't very good, and the roster hasn't been good since probably the 17, 18. You still had some NFL guys on those rosters, but they were, maybe the personality of that team wasn't great. And then and now you don't have a lot of really good players. So you've got to build back up the roster. And my opinion is the best way to build back up the roster is keep the guy that's got you a top 5 recruiting class right now. Now, if it blows up, we can have another conversation. But maybe at the very worst, he can be your Ron Zook. He can load up your roster with good players, with Florida State caliber players. And then if he goes 8-5 2 years in a row, you fire somebody and get your own Urban Meyer. Not the Urban Meyer, heaven knows, but some Urban Meyer that can win a lot with good players. But I don't know, man. Quarterback hasn't helped.
Yes.
Quarterback hasn't helped. They've been awful. They've been awful. Yeah. So you think about, and I texted you this the other day, and I'll stop answering this question. I know we got a lot of other ones. But after Jameis, the quarterbacks were Sean McGuire, Cosentino, DeAndre Francois, DeAndre Johnson, Malik Henry. Everett Golson was a transfer, but he doesn't count. James Blackman, Bailey Hawkman. Those were Jimbo's last after Jameis. How do you go from first rounder Heisman to Francois, Johnson, Malik Henry, Cosentino, Smag, Bailey Hawkman, who just left Middle Tennessee State, and James Blackman? That doesn't make sense. And a great quarterback can turn a bad team into an average team and an average team into a good team. But what do bad quarterbacks do? They can turn good teams into average teams and average teams into horrible teams. And they've just had horrible quarterback play. And it hasn't gotten any better this year. You lead the country in interceptions, man. You've got, maybe Milton finds it. Maybe Travis finds it. Maybe Chubba's the answer. But, man, it would help to get a good quarterback up in here because it has been way too long. Yeah, your quarterback play, your offensive line play is that's better. Probably the two consistents, right? Though those are the two main consistencies of the 3 coaching staffs in the 3 bad teams is offensive line play less than stellar and below average to bad quarterback play. Aside from the one DeAndre Francois year, but that we're not talking about 16, 17 and later. You've just gotten bad quarterback play. And both of your coaches have been offensive minded, and there's been, I don't want to say disharmony, but I still don't know what Willie and Walt, how that worked. I mean, I think Willie was still not well. And then, to me, it's like I've joked about, like, people think I really like Walt Bell. I don't dislike him. I just always found it so amusing that he was so quickly scapegoated. It was like once he left, I was like, all right, he's the bum. He screwed it all up. We got Kendall. We're all good now. And then people think I love Kendall. Like, I like Kendall, but like I'm not trying to advocate for him to be here, come back to be the OC or be a head coach or anything crazy like that. But I mean, year 1, you got a head coach working with a guy he's never been with. And then year 2, he brings in the guy that he copycatted and pretty much gave up all of his responsibility. But then at certain times to try to get back in and put his sort of spin on things, which it's his team. He can do that. And then now you got these guys trying to run it back like they did in Memphis when someone needs to get out of somebody's way. I mean, somebody needs to get out of one of the quarterback's way, and then the other guy's got to get out of the other coach's way and just figure out. I think Kenny's DNA is to be a run-first guy. Maybe do that. I don't know. If he's going to call plays, then let's see what it looks like when you try to be a run-first or a run-heavy offense. But there's some of that sort of tension, too, that's not working out. There hasn't been a good partnership. Not that like Norvell and Kenny are getting on each other's nerves or something, but clearly they're not on the same page because, hey, man, like you just said, like, hey, they threw a whole bunch of stuff at us we weren't prepared for. Okay, cool. I think that's called football. What else you have in the bag, So the fact that those things haven't been handled well on the fly is a bit concerning. But I don't know, old dads and all. Otherwise, read option has been a bummer too. Doesn't seem a very well. It's not automatic, but that's not an automatic. I mean, most of the time it probably is, but there are times, including in that Wake Forest game, where Jordan pulled it because there was nobody on that edge, and that's what I brought up that he didn't look right because he only got 4 yards on a play that last year he probably would have scored on. But there have been a few times where he's pulled it. It's not always an automatic like it was when, like, I don't know, Francois was running it. But you're not getting what you want out of it from the quarterback position on that play. Let's hop back here to YouTube. Octavio Cedeno. If we won the Notre Dame game, we would be 3-0 or 1-2. Would we be 3-0? Or would we? Sorry. Maybe you should read him from now on. Octavio. I can barely see from this far back. I know, look at you, Eagle Eye Clark. Octavio Cedeno asks everybody, if we won the Notre Dame game, would we be 3-0 or 1-2? We were not having this discussion week 1.
Why the bipolarness?
Well, I think that comes with, I don't know if he's calling us bipolar or the team bipolar, but I think it's the fact that what they've looked like the last 2 weeks. So that leads you to believe that maybe that fourth quarter was the anomaly against Notre Dame. And the first 3 quarters of that game, and then these last 8 quarters are what this offense currently is, which is not good. It's a turnover machine, turnover heavy, and not a ton of points. So I do think if they win the Notre Dame game, they're probably 2-1. I still think they lose to Wake Forest, but I think they would have carried over and probably beaten Jacksonville State. I don't know why. It's really dumb. Like there's no real science to it or anything or football data. I just think you feel pretty good about yourself after an overtime win against Notre Dame. You probably go ahead and take care of Jacksonville State, but who knows? Maybe Keyshawn Helton makes that catch. But yeah, man, it's just the offense has looked so bad. Like it's hard. Like we've only had this show for a little while, like I guess the podcast we've had for 4 years now, and we've never gotten to prove to you guys that we're not irrational, because you know what I mean? Like all it is bad. You know, if during the 2012 season, we would have complained mightily, I'm sure, about that NC State game, but we also would have kept it in perspective. At least I would have, and I think you would have too, Aslan, kept it in a perspective like, yeah, they're still 6-1 and number 5 in the country, and this team hasn't done that, or 10 after the loss, and this team hasn't done that in a decade. Like it was a bad night for a good team. So I think we could keep it a little more in perspective if they played better. But this is who they are, I think. At least, but maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully they come out and score 40 the next 3 weeks, and we feel much better about what they're doing on offense. And then if they do have a bad game, we'll just chalk it up to a bad game, and we won't say something is inherently, fundamentally wrong with what they're doing on offense. But right now, when you look at what they're doing, you lead the country in turnovers. You're 0-3. You know, you don't convert fourth downs. You don't convert third downs. You're not good on short yardage. There's a lot to complain about, and I don't think that's bipolar. I think that's the reality. If they get better at it, I assume we'll stop complaining about it. And I feel like we're almost to the point where we're not going to be complaining too much anyway. If it just keeps going down this road, it's just like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. To answer the question, though, I think we'd be 3-0. We wouldn't be 1-2. We'd be 3-0. If the options are 3-0 or 1-2 after beating Notre Dame, then I would say we would be 3-0 right now.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
You think they'd beat Notre Dame and then lose to Jacksonville State and Wake Forest?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that the Notre Dame win would have carried out. Yeah, I guess out of those two possibilities, I guess 3-0 is probably more likely. But they just seem so completely overmatched offensively against Wake. Like they just didn't do anything. So I don't know. But maybe the Notre Dame game would have given. You would have thought the Notre Dame game would have given them confidence either way, right?
The more I think about it now. Go ahead.
But I say, like, they played so well to end that game. And they scored 24 in the second half. They scored 18 in a quarter against a top 10 team. You would have thought, no matter that the kid missed the kick at the end, that they would have felt good and carried that over into the next week. They'd have felt good about themselves. I don't know, him making that kick or missing that kick should affect them to the point where they go out and just hammer Jacksonville State. They should have felt good going into Jacksonville State anyway. And then, you know, what happened. We were all there. We all saw it.
I'm almost talking myself into 1-2 because maybe they do come out lackadaisical against Jacksonville State, and then they also are hungover, and then they lose to Wake Forest after that. So, like all the good feelings. I mean, I wonder we would probably still feel this bad if they were 1-2, because especially if your loss would be against Jacksonville State, that'd have been like, what? Like we lost to them? Like that ruins the Notre Dame game. Doesn't even matter. They lost to Jacksonville State, and they just lost to Sam Hartman and Wake Forest. But you know what? They lost everybody. So that's it's a moot point. What's not a moot point is increasing your portfolio. Kraken.com, everybody. Check it out if you're investing in crypto or you've got some curiosity about investing in crypto. With Kraken.com, you can buy and sell over 50 of the most popular cryptos. Check it out here, Corey. Oh, this is posted in euros. I'll put it the American doll hair. Look at Bitcoin, man. It's up 7% in 24 hours. I told you to buy the dip, everybody. Hopefully you did. Over $43,000 for Bitcoin. You don't need $43,000 to get started on Kraken.com. You can get started for as little as $10. So check out Kraken.com, Kraken.com/Warchant, or look for Kraken on your app stores. So let's keep it rolling here on Wake Up Warchant, presented by, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Let's see here. Do we coach like a Power 5 staff this Saturday? Asks a one Spencer Holloman.
Hey, that is a good question because, buddy, I just can't imagine I'm this wrong on this staff. But I've been wrong before. Like we're pretty big fans of this staff, or were. Right, Aslan? I mean, I know you have some question marks. We all do. We all have question marks now. But man, I thought / think they're a pretty good staff, but you wouldn't know it. So that's a very good question. If they coach like a Power 5 staff, that would be a step up from what we've seen the last 2 weeks. And hopefully they do. Hopefully this has just been a 2-game blip for this season. Don't say a 12-game blip, just a 2-game blip because they did. It is the team. They did coach against Notre Dame too. So hopefully they can find some magic and win a few games, and then let's get this thing rolling. Let's get this thing rolling to 6-6, baby. Just win 6 of your next 9.
Jimbo 11 on warchant.com's tribal council. Can someone please tell us how healthy Mackenzie Milton and Jordan Travis are and who will be ready Saturday? We can't, Jimbo.
Just text them. Text Aslan. Aslan, give out your cell phone number.
Yeah, to Corey's point, we like the staff. We don't want to betray their trust in allowing us to watch practice and report on certain minutia like that. So sorry, Jimbo 11. Jimbo 11 is a good guy. He's been a member since 2002. I think he fights a good fight. He's a Martin Jr. fan. Fights, defends Mike Martin Jr.'s ability to coach the team, which, by the way, I guess tomorrow or later today, if you're listening to the podcast, we get our first media availability with the baseball team. So that's cool. Rob Krause. I don't know if it's a hypothetical that we just took on this live show for thousands of people to kick around, but here we go. If you get rid of Mike Norvell, what's the sell job? Hey, James Franklin, remember 2 years ago when we were a mess? Well, we're an even bigger mess, and we have less money for you. So you want the job?
Yeah, you're in a bind, man. You're in a bind. You made what I think can be characterized as a very bad hire after Jimbo left, but it was rushed. We understand it. The early signing period really kind of hamstrung the people making that decision. You didn't make a good hire there, and I know there's plenty of people. I understand that think you've compounded that with a bad hire here, but that's the reality of the situation. You can't be paying $6 million a year in buyouts at Florida State and then go get. I don't think James Franklin's realistic anyway. But who is? Like, you go make a run at Venables? Like, who is out there? You better have a plan in place before you just go willy-nilly making decisions like this, or it's going to put you even further behind if you make another bad hire. So, James Franklin, look, if James Franklin emailed Coburn and it's like, look, man, I just hate Pennsylvania. I hate everything about this state.
Cold and gray, yeah.
Hate the people. It's already cold. We're still in September. What's the temperature down in Tallahassee? 100? Cool, man. I want to go live in the sun. If James Franklin said that to David Coburn, yeah, sure. You could sell that to the boosters too. Like, look, you got to give us a lot of money. We got a big old buyout we got to pay out, and we got Taggart too. But James Franklin's coming. But that's not a reality. It's not happening.
I don't want him.
Oh man, I think he'd do a bang up job. I mean, he won at Vanderbilt. I think he'd do a bang up job here. But he's at Penn State. And so yes, that's exactly right. It would be a hard sell to any coach that Florida State fans want. Like a coach that would make them feel good about the hire probably isn't coming to Florida State after they've just fired 2 coaches in the span of 3.5 years and can't pay them a ton of money because they're paying these other coaches to not coach. So the guys that you want out there probably aren't coming. So you're going to have to take another shot with a mid-major. You don't really want to do that. Just, hey, you know what? Let's just see it play out, guys. But it's a good point, Rob. It's a very good point. It would be nice if Mike Norvell could win some effing games. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it make us all feel a little bit better if you could go win some effing games? It's not that hard. Half the teams in the country do it every week. They go win a game. They find out a way to win a game. You beat North Carolina, which was an awesome win, and you're 1-7 since then. And one was against a Duke team that just did not want to play. So figure out a way now, man. Win some games, and let's see what happens. Please, I'm begging you, Mike Norvell. Win some games.
Controversial.
I'm going to pop some stitches talking about this.
How many stitches do you have?
I think 7 or 8 looks like. Yeah.
How'd you sleep?
I was fine. Stephanie came over and really bandaged it up. That was what I was worried about the most. She bandaged it up real well. And so, yeah, it worked out. I was fine.
A controversial opinion. I know a lot of people say, if you get rid of 2 coaches in 3 years of time, who's going to want to take the job? Controversial opinion alert here. I think in the coaching fraternity, there's more of a wince that they know that there was a guy that was here that won a national championship that they didn't want to shoot for the moon for to keep around. I think that's probably more concerning than them having a short leash, because you realize it's Florida State and what the standard is here. And both of these guys haven't met it, and you're a hot shot, and you're like, I could do it. I could win at Florida State. I know I could. I'm a little bit concerned because if I do win at Florida State and I want stuff and I'm not all that nice about it sometimes, I have to ask a certain way to get what I want. They're going to tell me no, maybe. And then when they're let me leave.
But the power structure is completely different at this school than it was when Jimbo was going through what he was going through. And again, it didn't come every time Jimbo snapped his fingers right away, but he got raises, he got his IPF, he got everything he asked for, and they were putting together the money for the football facility. And then he might have taken a look at that roster and been like, oh man, we're not going to be good for a while. Let me bounce and make some real money and go coach in the SEC with unlimited resources. Like he might have known, maybe Jimbo knew what was coming too. It was like, we're not going to be good for a while. This team has quit on me. We don't have a team full of winners. We have a team full of guys that don't care if they win or lose. I want to get out of here. I mean, that's a possibility too.
Gator Kirk, we've got a major rebuild taking place. Well, I mean, what have we done for the last 18 months? Haven't we? I mean, I know we're in the midst of a rebuild, but it's not like we just started. We have all these new players. We got rid of all these, worrisome players. Like they're gone. The new guys are in. The accomplished guys are in. Nonetheless, it's going to take some time. Usually this process takes 3 to 4 years to have a winning season. Where? Who? It takes to have a winning season? We have to wait 4 years for a winning season? Give me some examples. I'm not being sorry.
Are you yelling at me? And you better not be yelling at Gator Kirk. How dare you, Gator Kirk? I apologize for this. This is ridiculous.
Give me an example of guys taking over. I mean, did it take Mac Brown 4 years to get a winning record at Texas? Did it take it took Bob Stoops 2 years to win a national championship? Maybe that's too long ago. That was a whole different world. I mean, it took Saban 3 years to get into a national championship game and win it. That's Nick Saban. We should never talk about him.
So here's the thing:
Dabo had one blip in 3 years. I mean, we talk about Dabo had one bad year. It was a blip, and it was ballsy of them to hang on to him for sure. I mean,
absolutely,
they could have cut loose, but it's shown a little bit of promise. And then he had a blip, and it's like, all right, let's see what the future holds. And it paid off, and he hired some good guys as well. But if you guys got precedent and examples, please post it. Don't send any money. Just post it. I'd love to know it, and we can kick it around.
Yeah, I'd be interested in how long it took Clausen. You remember that awful team?
Forest?
But I'm saying, you remember that awful team in 2014?
I don't, but I heard you guys talking about on headline.
Yeah, I mean, they were awful. Florida State beat them 43-3, and that was a Florida State team that didn't even try that much in that season. And Wake just could do nothing at all. They were horrible. And then I feel like they were pretty darn good the next year, the year after that, like bullish. No, I don't agree that it should take. What's up? What are you doing?
To 2013. I'm sorry, that was his first year. His first year was at Wake Forest. He went 3-9. 2015, he went 3-9, and then 2016, he went 7-6. And then he had a losing season last year, but they lost in the bowl game. Otherwise, he's won 7 to 8 games.
Yeah. So what I would say is we want to compare this program to Alabama because of the history and tradition, but right now, roster-wise, it's more like a Georgia Tech or a Wake Forest. And so you're not going to turn this thing around to a national championship team in 2 years. You just can't. You're not doing it. But you can, man, that was a Peter Brady moment there. That was a really high butt. I'm saying weird things coming out of my mouth. Shut up, Clark. But anyway, I think that you can become a winning team in 2 years. Can you become a championship team with a rebuild in 2 years? No. Florida State is not in that place right now. But within 5 years, you should be a championship caliber team if you have the right coach, because of all the things and all the resources you do have at Florida State. And within 2 to 3 years, you should have a winning season, like an 8-win season. That is not asking a lot. You were in a horrible conference. There is nobody good in this conference right now. To think that by 2023 you should be still 5-7-ish. That I can't cut it. I can't cut it. You need players, man. You need players. Your best chance. I hate it. to say this, but no matter if he goes 1-11, your best chance to have a good team in 2023 is for Mike Norvell to figure this thing out and keep these recruits. That's how you build a program. That's how Jimbo did it. Jimbo had the luxury of a first-round quarterback when he took over as head coach, but that's how Jimbo did it. He recruited his tail off. And if Norvell can do anything similar to that, I don't expect a 13 type season, but he could have a 15 or 16 type season in a few years. I mean, if he loads this roster with talent, that's the only hope right now for Florida State. That or Nick Saban gets bored and wants to come coach here. That's the only hope right now for Florida State to be good in the relative short term, is that Norvell gets these recruits on campus. He can actually coach. Jury's still out, obviously, and they turn it around. And by 2023, they're an 8 or 9 win team. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
James B says Kentucky with Mark Stoops did not have a winning season until year 4. I mean, these are the programs we're talking about, man. Clausen, Rob goes in the way back machine. Talks about Mac Brown going 1-10 his first 2 years at North Carolina. So there you go. Abdel says Chip Kelly at UCLA. Yeah, but they just lost to Fresno State. Look at him, man. Thought he was the man. Thought he was the guy.
Beat LSU. He beat LSU, right? And I wonder what he did at Oregon. I wonder how long it took him at Oregon, Chip Kelly.
It's Evander Holyfield. It's a real deal. He was in Dothan. He autographed. Somebody's asking who the boxer in the photo behind me is. So it's
right.
Evander. I'm a Tyson guy, though, personally. It kind of feels weird to have Holyfield behind me. But nonetheless, we take some questions again here from YouTube. I think I missed somebody. Did I miss somebody? Somebody threw $10. Everything. He's here. Big Mac 3310. Shout out, Big Mac. Do you think the frustration comes from the defense not trusting the offense because they play 80% of the game? Even when the defense gets the ball back, the offense just coughs it back up. Go Noles.
Well, we appreciate it, Big Mac. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, that was especially the case on Saturday. I'm sure I've covered other games like that. I can't remember off the top of my head another game that had that disparity in total plays, like 89 to 51 or whatever it was. I mean, that's crazy. And yes, nobody is saying that Adam Fuller is the next Brent Venables by any stretch. There's a lot of proof that he isn't. But that was his unit was put in a horrible situation all game, and they aren't that good. So when you put a not good unit on the field for 90 snaps, not good things happen. The offense did not protect them at all. They just kept saying, "Wake, here's the ball again." I hope your offensive linemen aren't tired because they got to go play again because you got the ball at our 42. That happened all game. So yes, you hope there's not animosity between the offense and the defense. And they should, there shouldn't be really. It's not like the Jeff Bowden, Mickey Andrews days where one side of the ball was clearly playing hard and playing well, and the other one was just fiddle effing around. Neither one of these sides are very good. They really can't complain about each other.
Thank you, Big Mac. Appreciate it. Octavio's back. He wants to clarify, and he's bringing Ulysses S. Grant with him. $50. Thank you, Octavio. I did not mean to trigger Corey. LOL. Sorry. I meant why the huge difference in the team performance from week 1 to week 2. Octavio, if you don't remember, asked us, had they beat Notre Dame, would they be 3-0 or 1-2? And are we bipolar? But he's not making light of mental health. Mental health is a real thing. I don't know. Why the huge difference? Didn't we talk about that 2 weeks ago, Octavio?
And we talked about it a little bit there. I did think he was talking about us critiquing the team or commenting on the team. Octavio, you're the man. You didn't have to do that. That's very nice of you to donate. That's very, very nice. So we'll answer it. I don't know. They were good against Notre Dame. They're in that fourth quarter anyway. And then they've looked like they've been stuck in mud the last 2 weeks. And, the offensive line is that you can't dismiss it. You did lose, Robert Scott and Maurice Smith for the majority of the Jacksonville. Maurice didn't play at all against Jacksonville State, and Robert Scott barely played. And then all the Wake Forest game, they weren't playing. So, that is something, but you'd like your offense to be at a place, especially in year 2, which might be too much to ask, where when you lose 1 or 2 linemen, it doesn't completely implode your offense. But that seems to be what happened. And also, some bad breaks in the sense that, you're at the 1 yard line about to go score. You don't get in. Keyshawn Helton drops a touchdown pass. You know, that stuff happens. But then there's other things. Again, I'm not going to keep harping on this, but there's other things that aren't bad breaks, like Toafili being in the game in third and short, running Mackenzie Milton on 4th and 2. Those are things that you can't blame bad luck on, or even a bad offensive line on. That's just bad coaching strategy, and hopefully they get that figured out. If they can just coach a clean game, let's see what happens. That'd be nice to see. You know, this ceiling isn't very high, but it's certainly higher than what we've seen these past 2 weeks.
Thanks again, Octavia. Appreciate it. There's
There
our
you go,
guy,
Mark.
It's Mark. Oh,
Dollar bills.
don't forget that part. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, man. Aslan, you have a good feel for press conferences. What are the chances that Mike Norvell goes Jim Mora or Herm Edwards anytime soon if this continues? Maybe it's time for him to let it go. Let's go beat Louisville.
Louisville.
Louis. I'm a
So
Louis.
like Jim Mora being like playoffs, played like diddly poo.
Bowl game? Bowl game?
Bowl game. You kidding me? A bowl game.
Just want to win a game. I don't know. I'm losing my fire. Actually, I don't have a lot of fire. We've been sniping the last few days. Maybe he'll snap on me. I don't know. Some people want to see that kind of stuff. We're like, oh, where's the emotion?
Most of it.
It's there in practice, man. He's laboring. He's
I think people want to see some fire and some passion out of their head coach on Saturdays. Sure, I guess, and he maybe even a press conference to show that they're, viscerally and visually angry. But when it comes to like attacking a questioner or a question, I think more on, and I'm not just saying that because I'm usually in a press conference. I think it makes the coach look bad. Like, buddy, you got bigger things to concern yourself about than ripping a questioner or getting in a spat with a reporter asking a question. Like, if you're 3-0, go for it. But when you're 0-3, and maybe after the Louisville game you're 0-4, and somebody asks you a question you don't like, to turn on them, I don't think that would be met with a lot of positive reinforcement from a fan base that's all pretty frustrated. They're pretty done with what they've seen so far.
Maybe I can be the galvanizing force, though. Maybe I'll be like, yeah, let it Norvell ripped on an Aslan guy. Good.
Well, that's true. Go. The enemy of my enemy. Yeah, I got you, man. That could happen too. You could be the guy they all. Maybe you'll be on the shirt when they get off the bus the next time.
Yeah. Although Jim Moore and Herm Edwards really didn't attack the question. I mean, it was fun. They weren't. I mean, like Mike Gundy. I don't know. I'm trying to think like who's gone at a question. Like, but those are kind of like fun and good spirited. I was saying this to Ira earlier today, and he didn't agree with me. Which I'm like, come on, Ira, I'm trying to be positive, and you want me to be more positive. But imagine this thing does take off. Like, I'm being serious here. Like, won't bamboo become some sort of like cultish part of the regalia of the Florida State fan? Like when they're here doing game day and they're like, coming up, my game picks are coming up, and they show a shot of the crowd like up the nostrils, and it's a guy like chewing on a piece of bamboo, like, let's go.
Yeah, people dressed up as pandas.
Yeah, like it'll be a weird kind of like Mississippi State. They're the Bulldogs. Why do they ring cowbells? It's like they're Florida State. They pay homage to the Native American tribe, the Seminoles. Why do they have bamboo? And it's like, oh, where's this funny thing? This coach one time said this thing, and it can be our little thing, hopefully. So
maybe they'll put it on a plaque outside of Doak, the whole Dillingham quote, like they did with Tebow after they lost to Ole Miss. You ever seen a bamboo? So apparently Ira did text me last night that I think Dillingham said that the bamboo will sprout like 90 feet overnight.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. But it's after not doing anything for years, it'll sprout like 90 feet in a month or two.
Really?
Yeah. So look, if they come out and put up 40 against Louisville and then follow that up with 46 against Syracuse or something, yeah, man, this is the bamboo offense. There's nothing else you can call it. It's the bamboo offense. So we'll see. We'll see what happens because, yes, we're all waiting for that bamboo to finally sprout. But, yes, I don't know that it would become like a cowbell type thing. But I think for this season at least, it'd be what the offense would be known as.
Wes in the Villages says Norvell needs. By the way, thanks again, Mark. Appreciate that, man. Very generous.
Thank you, buddy. You're the best. You know that.
Is also on here. James B's name is on here as well. James B posted a question or a comment earlier about Mark Stoops, year 4, turning a winning program. He's on this thing as well. So we appreciate you guys. Wes in the Villages says Norvell needs to call the plays. He's got to take more control over things. If he doesn't like something being called in the other segments, he may have to intervene there as well. Well, I mean, he's one man. He can only do so much. But if he wants to call plays and maybe box out Kenny. I mean, it's whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I wish I knew how much he was involved at Memphis in calling the plays. Like even after Dillingham left the 1 year to Auburn, was that Norvell's offense? I mean, I know it's Norvell's offense, but is he doing the play calling as much as and look, we've said this before, it's the stuff Sunday to Friday to me is so much more important than the stuff on Saturday as far as calling plays. You find your identity as an offense in what you're practicing each day and what you're trying to do. It's not like Norvell has these secret plays that he doesn't tell Dillingham about that would work. They all have the same play sheet. They all know, and they all talk all the time. Like, this is what I think will work on short yardage. This is what I think I'll work on first down. I want to take some shots with this play over and over and over. So I don't know that it would necessarily be a drastic change in the output or the way it looks. But I have a sneaking suspicion they don't have Mackenzie Milton run on 4th and 2 just around left end, if Norvell is in charge of plays. And that's the one where I think Wes is right about, like, you got to intervene there, man. You've got to tell somebody to take a knee and act like they're hurt if you're the head coach and you're worried. You don't want to call a timeout because you want to keep them, but you do not want to call that play. And you're mad at your coach for even suggesting that play. So you figure out a way to not have that play called. Tell whoever. I'm sure Toafili was in the game. Tell Toafili to fall down and act like he's hurt so you can get a stoppage and call a different play. And it's the same thing you obviously clearly 100% should have done when he saw the defense they had on the final play against Jacksonville State. The head coach has got to intervene, man. It's your program at the end of the day. If you see something that is asinine, or if you hear a call in the headset that you think is asinine, stop it. Otherwise, you're giving it tacit approval. Like, if you let your OC call a play like that, you let him do it. That's on you. Just like the same thing with the Hail Mary. It wasn't even a Hail Mary. The bomb at the end of the Jacksonville State game.
He didn't have a timeout, though, against Jacksonville State to really do anything. But I guess the camera.
Hey, you know what? You could tell Steven Dix. You could also tell Steven Dix to fall down, act like he's hurt. You see all these other teams do it. If Corey Clark's the coach, we practice that for a period every day. We practice falling down but making it look believable. So the trainers have to come to you. Cramp up. Show me how you cramp up. We do that for 5 minutes every day. And then you don't say cramps. Your trigger word is something else, like, Boston or something. Yeah. And that means, Dix, you're on the field, you fall down, and the referees have to stop it. And then you can get your mind right. Anything but what just happened, or what happened. It feels like it just happened. Feels like I've just been watching it on a loop for the last 2 weeks, that play.
Hit the thumbs up button. We certainly would appreciate it, everybody.
I'm sorry for my face, everyone. If you're watching this, I'm sorry for my face. I'm backed up as much as I can. I'm literally up against the wall here. I apologize.
Hit the thumbs up. That'd be super cool. You can enter the $50,000 Survivor Pool contest over at mybookie.ag. It's totally free. Just sign up. Use the promo code WARCHANT. They will double your first deposit. If you've already been a member, if you use the promo code from way back, you've automatically been entered into the Week 3 Survivor contest. It's the NFL. Just pick a team to win each week and pick a different one and just stay alive the whole time. Well, let's talk about college for a minute here, Corey. I mean, I know you're a little bit you have the integrity of a Heisman voter, but right now, as we look at it, my guy Matty Corral at Ole Miss is the odds-on favorite. That's crazy. Bryce Young in Alabama plus 250. Spencer Rattler plus 1,000. Crazy people on here, man. Anything jump out to you?
No, I think it's nuts that kid is the favorite right now, but that'll take care of itself this week, right? Don't they play Alabama, or 2 weeks they play Alabama, right? Yeah. So if he plays well against Alabama and they win, he's got a real chance. If they lose 44-19, probably not much of a chance. I don't know if Rattler. I mean, come on, man. No, I'm not voting. I'm done voting for Oklahoma quarterbacks. So I'm just one vote out of 1,000. So I can't move the lines. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not voting for Spencer Rattler ever. I don't think he's that good anyway. They barely beat who they barely beat in that first game.
Tulane and Nebraska.
Tulane, and then they put up 23 on Nebraska. So no, just because he's the Oklahoma quarterback, he's one of the front runners. I want to find out who Georgia's best defensive player is, and vote for that dude.
Okay,
but he's not on there. So no, I don't really have any opinions on those guys. No, but it's crazy. So JT Daniels is what, 9th in the odds, and he's a fine quarterback. He's a nice quarterback. He's probably the 8th most important player on their team, 6th most important player on their team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, their defense is ridiculous. They win games because of their defense, not because of JT Daniels.
MyBookie.ag, use a promo code WARCHANT, get your first deposit doubled instantly. All right, let's land this plane, wrap things up here on YouTube. Let's see here. Some guys didn't agree with me. Take a number. What do we got? We got people down at the bottom here. We got people. I'm sorry. We got people that have thrown money at us. Rob Rathbun's here, everybody. Rob, he's here. Let's go, Rob.
The silent assassin.
How about Dion, head coach at Southern Cal? Because Reggie Bush said something. So then everybody on First Take wanted to talk about it. And then they had Feinbaum on it to talk about it. So Dion to USC.
Okay, yeah, make it happen. Rob, we appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Very, very generous of you. Andre Lamar Ransom. Has Coach Mike Norvell been warned by the refs that he will be penalized if Trayshawn Ward is given more than 10 carries a game?
I mean, he gets a little bit of a pass, not much, but a little bit of one because they only ran 51 plays in that game. But maybe the reason you couldn't stay on the field is you kept not giving the ball to what I think is your best offensive player right now. I think him and Corbin are your 2 best players on offense, and they need the ball a lot. And that's a very good question. I'm with you. I would give those guys the ball, I don't know, 34 to 35 times a game between them and just see where the chips fall, man, after that. And they don't seem to really want to do that. Like if a run gets stopped on first down or if a kid fumbles on his first carry, it's like, all right, we're not going back to that for a while. And I think you got to ride with those 2 guys because it's not like the receivers are doing much for you. But yes, Trayshawn Ward, I'm telling you, man, I think Trayshawn Ward's an NFL running back. And it'd be nice to get him more than, I don't know what he's averaging, 7 carries a game.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it, both of you. James continues on that I can't find it now, but he was talking about in the past, in the 80s, you used to give a coach 4 or 5 years, but he does realize times have changed and so have expectations. But he still steps into the Terror Dome and brings $25 with him. So Horn Gang OG gets the Horn Gang. James with the $25. Thank you very much, James. Appreciate you. Your name. Where are you? Right there. You're one of the only guys that signed in cursive, too. Yeah, a lot of guys.
Oh, really? People were printing their signatures?
Yeah, come on, man.
Oh.
Corey, I liked your point about losing recruits by firing coaches. We need consistency. Respect to you guys for pushing through.
James, I appreciate it. Number 1 for agreeing with me. Well, no, number 1 for the money. Number 2 for agreeing with me. You're a pillar. You're one of the big boys. And look, you only do that though if you think you can't just completely not care about what's happening on the field. And if you think that Norvell isn't the guy, if you're convinced he's not the guy, then I mean maybe not this year because again the financial things, but next year, you can't just. Some points you just have to rip the Band-Aid off if it's not. And they did that with Willie. Again, Willie did not have this recruiting class in place. In fact, Willie didn't recruit really well after his first month. His first month on the job was his best month recruiting at Florida State. Norvell has built some things, man. I think he's got a nice foundation for the 2023 class. The 2022 class right now is one of the best in the country. So yes, that's how you get back to winning games at a Florida State level is you have to have a Florida State type roster. He might be the guy to do that. At the same time, he just lost to Jacksonville State and is doing weird things in game every week. And it'd be nice for that to stop. Give us a reason to believe in you as a football coach, not just as a recruiter. Does that make sense, Aslan? I think because that's the truth, man. I mean, I do believe in the guy and what he's doing recruiting. I mean, he's put together a really good class for a program that hasn't won much in a half a decade. But at some point, you need to impress us with more than what you do off the field. You got to start impressing us with what you do on the field. And right now, that's hard to see. So hopefully that comes too. And if that comes, then yeah, I think this program can get back to the maybe not dynasty days, but could find some glory again.
Somebody was like, hey, put up the examples that Gator Kirk said about rebuilds. So he points out Virginia Tech, which it was 1987. Nebraska numerous times. I don't know.
Well, those aren't great examples, Gator Kirk. If you're wanting to like impress people with like that, this is why you give them time, is because like Nebraska's been chasing Tom Osborne for 20 years now, and Frost is in year 4 and they're 2-2 with a loss to Illinois. So I get it, but James B's right. It's different now. Like in the 80s. In the 80s, Beamer got more time, a lot more time. He got like 7 years before they were good.
He went 2-9, 3-8, 6-4-1, 6-5, 5-6, 2-8, and then they kind of took off in '93 with 9 wins. So
with Beamer, yeah, right, yeah, but that's just that would be great. Yeah, that's a lot of suffering to get to the. That's a lot of squeezing to get to the juice.
And there were nobody,
right.
You look at like Ohio State, although they were not in as bad of a hole with John Cooper. But like, dude, Jim Tressel came in, and I think within 2 years, they won the national title. Like Bob Stoops, 2 years.
Here's what I'd say to that, man. I think if the roster had been better in 18 when Willie took over, it was capable of having a turnaround like that. You know what I mean? Depending on who you hired. Like if you'd have made a good hire in 18, a really good hire, the roster might have been good enough where you could win 9 or 10 games in a couple of years. Florida State right now isn't what Ohio State was back then, where a Tressel can come in and turn it around in year 2. It's just not. It's more because of the roster, because of these last 4 years, it's going to be a longer rebuild to get to greatness. It should not be a long rebuild to get to okayness or just to rise up to mediocrity. That should be within our grasp here. And then from mediocrity to great might take a couple years. But from awful to mediocre, it should be a 2 or 3 year fix at the absolute. That's as long as it should take to get to mediocre, and yeah, he's not going to get. If I can tell you this, if in his year, if Norvell's 6th year, they go 2-8-1. Number one, what are we? We got ties again. That's the first question. Does college football go back to ties? But then also, he's not making it to year 7. That's an impossibility. Virginia Tech in 1992 was a different ball game than Florida State in 2021. But he's going to get time. We might as well all come to grips with it. And we're all hoping that the guy is the right guy and can figure this out. Otherwise, are we going to go through this again in 2 years, in another 2 years? You know what I mean? Like, hopefully this guy can stuff this roster with elite players and they can start winning games again in our lifetimes by the time this thing heals. By the time my face doesn't look like I got axed, maybe Florida State will be a good football program again. That's what we're hoping for, man.
Yeah. Maybe take 1 or 2 more here. Abdel, I hope you're not joking. Operation Fade Aslan paid out nice last week. I really hope you did. Again, man, I went 0 for 3, but if you went against me, you went 3 for 3. I need to
nice.
I'll throw some winners or some losers your guys' way, and you guys can polish them up and make them winners. This is part of a longer sort of monologue soliloquy from our guy here. Joseph Stewart on Facebook about basically we're sitting here talking about the quarterback situation not being ideal, the offensive line not being great, receivers not being all that talented. So everyone's saying coaching, but any coach would struggle with what's going on right now. So it's not the coaches, it's the players. Okay, but somebody on the tribal council, let me pull it up here too, so we can maybe do a 2 for 1 here. Sean 7811, I think, or 7711. It's close. Curious about your thoughts on experience of the roster and how that factors into gameplay and play calling. I pulled up the depth chart, did not realize how many freshmen and sophomores we have on the 2 deep. I believe we had the youngest roster last season. I'm not positive we weren't actually younger this season. Kind of crazy. Well, hey, man, like the starting quarterback, Jordan Travis got thrown to the Wolves in Louisville for 1 game. 2019, he had a game plan catered to him against Boston College. They put him in there. He did great. 2020, he kind of, stumbled his way into the starting job and ran with it. He's had plenty of experience, man. He's not a young guy. Mackenzie Milton started maybe close to 30 games in his career now. You brought one of those guys in. You brought Andrew Parchment in. You brought Dylan Gibbons in. Darius Washington's a freshman, but, man, he's been here for a long while. Bavion's been here for 6 years. Devontae Love-Taylor's been here for a long while. Pokey's not a young guy by any stretch. Keyshawn Helton's not a spring chicken. You brought in Kier Thomas. You brought in Jermaine Johnson. You brought in Jamie Robinson. Travis Jay's not a young pup any longer. The youth They don't. I mean, a lot of these guys are guys that he handpicked and brought in. Now, listen, it's not. I have 3 years to mold them and make them who I want. But hey, this is the only option you had to make it quickly better, and you went and got these guys. And I think we all like them by and large. The sum of the parts, for some reason, is not greater than the individuals, unfortunately. But like Kier Thomas is a pretty solid player. Jermaine Johnson's going to get drafted in the NFL. I don't know about Parchment, but Gibbons and DL. I mean, these guys have shown that they're capable in spurts individually, but for some reason not playing well as a team. So I think that's why it comes back to coaching, because we're not saying these guys are awesome. I'm not saying that Andrew Parchment's awesome. Like how come he's not involved in the game plan? They're doing a terrible job of using him. Hey man, you went and got that guy. And if he's not performing, nothing could catch you off by surprise. He's been at 4 different schools. There's got to be some sort of disharmony where he's been. So I think that's where it comes from, where I don't want to blame it all on the coaches, but I'm not going to just say that, hey, like, this is what it is. You got a 3-win roster, deal with it, because I don't think it's like a 3-win roster.
Well, and the question from, I think it was the Facebook question about, they don't have a lot of answers in personnel. It's what do you expect the coaches to do? I don't expect them to lose to Jacksonville State because they have more talent than Jacksonville State. So we can say they played above their heads to hang with Notre Dame. That's fine. They did. But then to turn around and lose to Jacksonville State, that's on coaching. They're in it. It's not just the blanket, come on, you got to coach better. I mean, there are specific examples in each of these last 2 games with play calls, with personnel decisions, with where you're like, okay, that was not ideal. You put your team in a worse position with that play call, with that sub, with that decision. That's where my angst comes from, is like the game time decisions of these coaches. Not that they should be 3-0, not that they're a championship team. Clearly they're not. We thought before the season 6-6, 7-5 was what we were looking at. You hoped, but they're not doing themselves any favors with some of the in-game decisions and in-game personnel that they use from week to week in the seemingly back and forth of it. Like, okay, now he's our starter, now he's not. Now we ride Corbin. Now he fumbled. He's out of the game for a quarter. Like, it's these kind of things they're a little bit perplexing. Not giving up on them, but I think that's where the players don't help. And you've heard me call this roster more like a Georgia Tech Wake Forest roster. But if you coach a Wake Forest roster pretty well, you can win some games. There's no excuse to be 0-3 with one of those losses to Jacksonville State the way you lost. So as far as what was the other point? I can't read that, Aslan, about the
no, it's all, and then
Sean, about what you were saying. I would say this though. Yes, they have more experience. They brought in a lot of transfers, but what are you going to do about Parchment, man? We could tell the first day of practice that they were trying to find whatever button is in that kid to push it, to make him a part of this team and a part of this offense, and they still haven't found it. But they've tried, but now it seems like they're not even doing that anymore. But it's one thing to have some older guys, but you can't just say like, oh, well, Mackenzie Milton started 30 games. Their quarterback should be better than this. Like, we thought
they were going to have better quarterback play, Corey, because they brought him in, or he was going to push Jordan Travis, or Jordan Travis would be better after playing last year. So where is it? Why isn't it?
No, I agree. I'm not saying that they've done a good bang-up job. I'm just saying it's not apples and apples as far as when you're comparing to, okay, he started 30 games, he should be better than this. Well, 28 of those starts were at another school 3 years ago.
With two healthy legs.
With two healthy legs. So that's all. Yes, Jordan Travis should be better. My man was 5 for 5 in that game until the Hail Mary, buddy. He's like Drew Brees. But yeah, so it's a lot of inexperience at Florida State, and it's a lot of taking kids from other schools and trying to mesh them into one, and it has not worked. To any record wise anyway, it hasn't worked. Jermaine Johnson's been good. Kier Thomas is good. The defense is better. The transfers for the offense have done nothing. DJ Williams, Andrew Parchment he's had one catch that mattered in 3 games. Dylan Gibbons, pretty solid player, I guess. He starts for you. But other than that, the offensive transfers have done very little, and half the defensive guys don't play either. The Arkansas kid, Brandon Moore's not even here anymore. That's the risk you run with the portal.
Well, but Pokey's been here for a while. Cam McDonald's been here for a while. I mean, you look at the 2 deep, there's young guys backing up some of these older guys, so you don't have a lot of great options behind them, but they're not as young as you would think. At least I don't think they are. I mean, I get
no, they're not. They're not. The offensive line, when you're playing the guys you want to play, is what? Freshman is 3 freshmen on there, right? Washington, Smith, and Scott. Now they've been here a while, but they're freshmen. So that gives you some hope maybe moving forward in a year or two that you could have a pretty darn good offensive line if those guys continue to develop. Other than that, they're not as young as they were last year. They did get help. They did get some bodies in the transfer portal. I mean, I don't know what the defense would be without Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas, but not good. It's not good now. It might be like it was last year without those two guys. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to win consistently when you keep overturning the roster and the two deep every year like they did this year. But they had to because the kids they had coming back weren't very good. They had to go try to get some players and get some help. Sadly, it hasn't worked out the way we wanted to, and Milton is not the quarterback you hoped he'd be, and Travis hasn't taken seemingly any positive step at all to being a good college quarterback. So it is what it is. It'd be nice if they got a quarterback that could play and play well.
All right, that's a wrap then. But In the Wind gets in at the buzzer. By the way, Get Down or Lay Down says use the bamboo spear.
That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
That'll be the thing right there. In the Wind, too, says, thank you, by the way. In the Wind, appreciate you, man. Says, we've not had a consistent offensive line room for the past decade. FSU always has skill players. It's the offensive line we've been missing out on. So, all right. Well, that's not wrong. It's certainly not wrong. We're done, though. We pushed it past an hour. Out here grinding for you. Corey, thanks for sucking it up. And I mean, shoot, I'd just be sleeping all the time if I were you. But
I'm going to go put some ointment on this. What do you think of that?
I like that. Some Neosporin?
Lather this up with some ointment. No, it's not Neosporin. It's supposed to be. It's something else. It's some other kind of cream that they said to stay away from Neosporin.
Put it on a Q-tip before you apply it. Don't put it on your finger, and put it on a Q-tip or some sort of cotton and then apply it.
Oh, look at you. Oh, Dr. Aslan over here.
Son of a nurse. 1 to 3 o'clock Thursday, as you're listening to this on the podcast, it'll be the Jeff Cameron Show. If you're watching us live, we appreciate you. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching.
And then also, we got the Langston Show tomorrow, right? The recruiting show. Yes. And then Friday, Jeff and I will be at Corner Pocket for happy hour from, I think, 5 to 6. So stop by if you want or watch us on this channel. Jeff gets a little loose. We drink a few beers. He says some cuss words. So if you're offended by that, maybe don't watch or don't come by. And I will try to stand as far away from the camera for that one as I can too.
Hit the thumbs up on your way out. Thanks again to In the Wind 2, James B., Rob Rathbun, Andre, Mark, Octavio, Big Mac, and the Godfather, Ed Lemmix. Thank you all for watching and participating. You've been watching, listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Car.